Yesterday, I got a letter that almost made me burn my 6-year dream to the ground. Picture this. I'm sitting here on the porch of the cabin I built with my own hands, weekend after weekend, year after year. Fresh pine on the breeze, sawdust still clinging to the air from my last project, and I'm thinking about my dad, who left me just enough to make this crazy vision real. I'm still wearing the old flannel he used to call my hillbilly tuxedo. You ever have a moment where you feel like the universe is just lining up to punch you in the face? That was me, right then. Then, out of nowhere, this certified letter shows up, crisp, cold, threatening to snatch away everything I bled for. 30 days, it says, to tear my home down or sign the deed over to the HOA. They want my house, my land, all of it, like I'm just some name on a spreadsheet. You ever get that feeling, the kind that starts in your stomach and crawls up your spine? Yeah, rage, panic, disbelief, all tangled together. But you know what? That was their first and last mistake. They picked the wrong guy. I'm not just another easy target. I'm Jake Collins, and I got every permit, every receipt, and every ounce of stubbornness this side of the Appalachians. I've spent years watching them bully families like mine, but today I'm going to show them what it looks like when you poke a man who's got nothing left to lose. Buckle up, because what happens next, well, it's about to get wild. I guess to understand how we got here, you got to know where it started. 6 years ago, I was 48, tired, divorced, and feeling about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. Bought 4 acres of unbuildable land, Blue Ridge Mountains, North Carolina, 18 grand, the last drops of my VA loan. People laughed, said it was nothing but rocks, trees, and wasted money. The real estate agent swore on his mother's casserole. No HOA, outside the county line, nobody telling you what color to paint your mailbox. I made him say it 3 times because, listen, I'd rather do another divorce than deal with another HOA. At least the ex-wife just wanted the dog. My life back then, well, let's just say it wasn't a country song. It was the B-side nobody listens to. I was holed up in a studio apartment that smelled like reheated sadness and secondhand fish sticks. My kids, Em and Tyler, came by on weekends. We'd sit together, watching each other over cardboard pizza, pretending it wasn't awkward. The walls were so thin I could hear the next-door couple fighting over whose turn it was to be miserable. Then my old man passed, left me $35,000. Not enough for a new truck, but just enough to buy the start of a dream. So every Saturday, I'd pack up my tools, kiss my kids on the head, and drive out to my little patch of nowhere. Out there, with a chainsaw in my hands, one that weighed almost as much as my bitterness, I started making something new. Hauled lumber till my back was screaming. Watched YouTube How TOS till my eyes blurred. Learned how to wire a solar panel, set up a rainwater system, build a wood stove so good the wolves looked jealous. Filed every county permit, every inspection. Triple copies. My therapist? The smell of fresh pine. My antidepressant? The sound of my hammer ringing off stone. Pretty soon, Emma's asking me to show her how to drill holes. Tyler's measuring things twice, sometimes 3 times, just to be sure. Suddenly, the 3 of us were laughing again. We're building something, not just a cabin, but a real living family. And then she showed up, devil in designer heels. Patricia Morrison, Pat, if you want to taste that fake smile, Queen Bee of the Mountain View Estates HOA. This woman was 40 miles of bad road in a Lexus, silver, polished, always clean like dirt itself, was scared to touch her tires. Word was, she'd forced out half a dozen families in 4 years. She shows up on my porch, strutting like she owns the place. This structure, she says, sniffing my homemade railing, significantly impacts our community sightlines. Her perfume must have cost more than my first car. Didn't mix with the honest smell of pine and sweat. I just kept sanding that porch, let her heels click all they wanted. Ma'am, I told her, this is my private land. Legal. Permitted. None of your business. She flashed that predator's grin. We'll see what our lawyers have to say about that. Just like that, my sanctuary turned into a battlefield. After that, code enforcement came around, so often I started offering them coffee. Every time, I'd show them my stack of permits. Every time, they'd grumble, apologize, and drive off. Pat, though, she wasn't done. She was just getting warmed up. 2 months later, she comes back with a professionally corrected boundary survey, courtesy of her brother, of course. Claims my cabin's 12 feet inside her precious HOA. Wants you to cough up $3,200 community initiation fee, plus $225 a month retroactive. The paperwork looked fancy, felt expensive, but smelled like horse manure. I laughed. Lady, I'm not in your HOA. Never was. Never will be. Her eyes went icy. 45 days, Mr. Collins. Pay up or tear it down. Right then, I knew this wasn't about property lines. This was about power, about control, and about a bully who'd finally met her match. Next thing I know, I'm hunched over dusty records in the county courthouse basement, flipping through files so old they smelled like the Great Depression. The clerk, Dorothy Jenkins, God bless her, she'd been there since they invented paperwork. Leans over, whispers, that Morrison woman's been snooping around your records. She even offered me $800 to lose some documents. I nearly choked on my coffee. Bribing a county employee? Pat was bold, I'll give her that. Lucky for me, Dorothy was as honest as the day is long, and twice as stubborn. I got her to repeat the story while I quietly recorded on my phone, "Thank you, North Carolina, for single-party consent." I spread out the 1985 survey on the table, clear as sunrise. My cabin sits 41 feet inside my own line, not 12 feet into her fantasy. Turns out, her brother's survey was about as accurate as a drunk man throwing darts. Dorothy drops another bomb. Shows me records of the Morrison family buying up 15 properties, slowly boxing people out, creating what they called a buffer zone. My land? The big prize. The one they couldn't get. So, I call in a real surveyor, one with no family ties, just expensive equipment and zero patience for BS. $1,200, but worth every cent result? My cabin's 47 feet inside my line. Ironclad. That's when I go on offense. Filed a formal complaint against her brother's license. Sent Pat a letter. Cease all harassment, or see me in court for defamation and corruption. She fires back, calls GPS unreliable in mountains, like satellites can't see past a couple pine trees. Holds an emergency HOA meeting, says we cannot allow outside properties to diminish our investment returns, regardless of their technical legal standing. There it is. She just admitted she doesn't care about the law, just her own profits. News travels fast up here. Suddenly, neighbors come out of the woodwork. Frank Kowalski, retired teacher, still got chalk under his fingernails, forced to tear down his own shed, even though it was never in HOA territory. Jimmy Bellamy, hardware store guy, cited for parking his work truck in his own driveway. I started seeing the pattern. Pat wasn't just enforcing rules, she was running a protection racket. Then, out of nowhere, Tom Bradley, county inspector, shows up. Says he's got to check shared access road violations. I almost laugh. That road's been public since before disco died. Tom, he knows the game. I show him the county records, even pull up case law, Buncombe County versus Pinehurst Estates, where another HOA tried this stunt and got flattened in court. Tom sighs, mutters, well, I'll be damned. Off the record, he tells me Pat's been leaning on his boss, threatening political complications. That's when I realize she's not just bullying, she's trying to buy the whole system. I file a FOIA request for all communications between Pat's HOA and county officials. Cost me $50 and a headache. What comes back? Corruption. Pat's husband donated $8,000 to a commissioner's campaign. I'm not fighting one woman anymore. I'm up against a network. That's when the cavalry arrives, a twist I didn't see coming. Sarah Kim, girl I knew in high school, now an investigative journalist. She drives up the mountain with a digital recorder and more fire in her belly than most Marines. Turns out Pat's been pulling these stunts across 4 counties, same playbook every time. And then it gets real. One morning, I spot a black SUV parked near my land. 2 guys in Morrison Protection Services, polos snapping photos like they're on safari. I install trail cams, military grade, and, wouldn't you know, it's like a reality show for stalkers. Frank calls. Same thing's happening at his place. Pat's gone from paperwork to psychological warfare. But instead of scaring us, she's created something dangerous, an army of pissed-off neighbors. Pat escalates. 3 days later, my insurance company calls. Potential commercial use violations, they say. Somebody reported my solar panels, my workshop. I know it's Pat. Turns out, she worked for their special investigation unit on the side. That's a felony. Conflict of interest, insurance fraud. I file a complaint with the insurance commissioner. Sarah finds even more. Morrison family's trying to build a $25 million resort. My land? The last obstacle. Worse, the insurance trick has forced 3 families to sell, 1 to lose their house entirely. This isn't just greed. It's evil. But she gets sloppy. My cameras catch her company's guys vandalizing my solar panels at 2 a.m. in uniform, right on camera. I call the sheriff, hand over the footage. Deputies show up, catch them red-handed. That's not just local trouble. Destroying renewable energy equipment is a federal crime. Then comes the buried treasure. County ordinance from 1989, clear as day. No HOA can claim jurisdiction over properties bought before they existed. My land was purchased 1985. Mountain View Estates was born in 96. Game over. Pat can't touch me, ever. The deeper I dig, the worse it gets. HOA's $600,000 in debt. Her cousin, the treasurer, used the funds like his own piggy bank. They don't want my land for development. They need it to pay off creditors. My 4 acres are their Hail Mary. So I get help. Mike Torres, old Army buddy turned attorney. Rebecca Martinez, civil rights specialist. Dorothy brings 20 years of records. Frank organizes the neighbors. Sarah Kim readies her expose. We prep a blitz. Injunctions, lawsuits, FBI involvement, media coverage. Forensic accountants start tracing dirty money. Then, Pat goes nuclear. She shows up at my door with a suitcase of cash and an NDA thick as a phone book. Tries to bribe me to walk away. And when that doesn't work, threatens me right on a federal wire. Accidents happen, she hisses. Some neighbors aren't as understanding as others. You ever see someone confess to half a dozen felonies in one breath? I nearly laughed in her face. FBI raids follow. Agents swoop in. Pat, her cousin, her brother, all in cuffs. Local news eats it up. The footage of Pat in handcuffs becomes the shot of the decade. The new HOA board holds an emergency meeting, drops every harassment campaign, apologizes to the community, cuts all ties to the Morrison clan. 2 years later, here I am, sitting on my porch, watching grandkids play where Pat Morrison once planned her swimming pool. The trial was the event of the decade. Packed courtroom, evidence stacked so high they had to bring in extra tables. Pat got 12 years in federal prison. Her family's company dissolved, properties seized, restitution paid. But you know what we did with the money? Built the Rural Property Rights Defense Foundation. Free legal aid for families fighting HOA abuse. Frank runs community outreach. Dorothy teaches people to read property records. Sarah's documentary wins awards, exposes corruption nationwide. And me? I wake up every morning to mountain air that smells like pine and freedom, knowing my stubbornness built more than a cabin. It built a movement. Let me tell you, here's what I learned. The people with the most power are often the most desperate to keep it, even if they have to break every rule in the book. But when you fight back, document everything, get your neighbors together, refuse to be scared, they crumble. Sometimes, the universe gives you exactly the right team, exactly when you need it. And sometimes, karma just needs a little nudge from a stubborn old mountain man. Now, I gotta ask you, where do you draw the line between defending what's yours and going too far? Is there a point where fighting back just turns into another kind of war? Or does justice mean never backing down, no matter the cost? Drop your own HOA horror story, or your thoughts on where justice ends and revenge begins in the comments. Trust me, somebody out there needs to hear it. And if you want more tales of ordinary folks toppling the corrupt and powerful, stick around. Next time, I'll tell you about the mayor who tried to steal an entire lake. That story makes Pat Morrison look like a kindergarten bully.